family. There was my grandmother, Anna, Aunt Nellie, Aunt Molly, Ella Rose, and on and on and on. One of them was Elizabeth, who married Charles Renner, and you're the only person with a Washingtonian background who will understand exactly what I'm talking about. Charles married, Charles married, Elizabeth, I got this.
Go ahead, Dad.
Okay. Elizabeth married Charles Renner, R-A-N-N-E-R. They had 4 children, 3 boys and a girl who was Betty. Betty was probably the greatest single influence on my life. She put herself through law school, had a distinguished career. She also had some part of the American delegation to the Tokyo war crimes trial, which are a bit of a visit, which that's one of the things you're going to look at. Betty was murdered in the Bahamas. She already had a number of distinguished things. Are you recording this?
For Charlie.
Okay, that's good. I like it to have it recorded. All right. Let me describe, well, I've told you the end of the story, which is irretrievably sad, but let me tell you where they lived. They put yourself on Florida Avenue, where it crosses Connecticut Avenue. Okay? Their house is about at that point, and that it was then, when the house was built, a house where the wealthy families lived. And the Renners were not wealthy. They came along much later. But have you got yourself fixed on Florida Avenue? Okay. Crossing Connecticut Avenue. I think the address, if this is unreliable memory, but it's easily checked, was 1720 17th Street. Okay, I don't know why I think that, but that could be easily checked, because there's method in my madness. You're getting an assignment. Did you see the cufflinks?
Yes.
Yes.
He has seen them. Okay. I think they were a graduation present from Betty. She was not at the graduation. The war was still on, but she never forgot her birthday or anything. The house had two entrances. The major one was on 17th Street. There was no backyard. There was, in the sense of a lawn, there was I love that. And the back of the house, her house, the Renner's house, was on Florida Avenue just before it crossed Connecticut Avenue. All right? Mm-hmm. It was an amazing house. I saw it as a child. I remember it's the only house I knew that had a dumb waiter. The kitchen, it was a house that anticipated if a family was in it, that there would be a pack full of servants. And there were at some point, I suppose. The kitchen was on the basement level. A dumbwaiter was there, and the idea was that I never saw this done, but the idea was the meals will be prepared, go into the dumbwaiter, and brought up to the first floor. All right? And Betty Renner had four brothers. Charles, I guess named for her father, Fred, Ed, I've forgotten the other one. As I said, Betty was probably the greatest influence on my life up until the day she was killed in the Bahamas. I am not clear what happened to the Tokyo war crimes, but she was part of the American delegation, and it sort of fizzled out. I'm speculating what happened was it would be awfully hard to make anyone in Japan worry about Japanese war crimes when two atom bombs had been dropped by the United States on Japanese sisters. But Betty was part of the American delegation there. I remember being at her house on election night in 1948. There's a famous picture of Harry Truman grinning, holding up a headline. It probably was not the Chicago Tribune, but the Washington version of the Chicago Tribune. And it said, Dewey defeats Truman, which never happened. And that's what's funny. He was really gleeful. Truman had, of course, succeeded immediately into the presidency after the death of FDR in 1945. Okay, already I am wandering. And I was there in Betty's house for the election returns in 1948. I do not remember her having a television yet. We probably listened to the radio, but I'm not sure of that. So that to give you an idea of what she was like. She had put herself through law school. She held jobs with the FBI, with what's other sound, and elsewhere in the Department of Justice. It was in 1950 that as I understand it, and there's some room for disputing this, she went to the Bahamas simply for Easter vacation. Betty was a very devout Catholic, but if your assumption of a devout Catholic is somebody who was sort of dour and that was not Betty. She was very, she had new games for getting along with a young boy about 12 years less half her age, less than half her age. She went to the Bahamas after a pretty distinguished career in Tokyo. I don't know anything about that. And that's part of your assignment.
Okay.
We got word by radio that she had been found dead, stuffed in a well in the Bahamas. They were careful to say she had not been sexually molested. I don't know whether that's true or not. But there it was, and we had to deal with it. And this house, 1700 block of 17th Street, was in the Catholic parish of St. Matthew's. I don't know, and it's not relevant particularly, whether Washington was already a separate diocese. But this is largely for this and that. The whole world has seen one of the great pictures of St. Matthew's. JFK was buried from there, and there is a picture famous. And if you think about it a minute, you'll remember. This has nothing to do with Betty. Jackie has come out of the cathedral. She's standing on the steps to go down to her car. Her right hand is holding the hand of a 4 or 5-year-old, waving bravely. That was JoJo. What makes it even more tragic is there's 20 years later, JoJo was killed in an airplane accident. No, an airplane accident. I think he was the pilot. Okay, let's go back. Betty gave me those. Things that I have just given to
The
you.
cufflinks.
The cufflinks, yeah. And she didn't, as I say, didn't come to Providence. I was graduated and commissioned ensign the same day. Okay, now back in Washington, already in 1948, we are all cheering on Harry Truman, who beats Dewey, and gleefully holds this thing saying, some headline, Dewey defeats Truman. But that's beside the point. It's fun to think about. It was fun at the time. I remember Betty going, first of all, I spent election night either listening to the radio or if we had television, then on TV. I don't remember which it was. Dewey did not defeat Truman. Truman defeated Dewey, and the world was saved, but not for Republicans. And my understanding was that Betty went to the Bahamas for Easter and was there when she was murdered. A lot of it was a major news story in Washington. Part of your assignment is to look for the Washington Evening Star. They're reporting on this. It would have been Easter time in 1950. Okay? So you're not getting off easy. Your research problem. I don't remember who told me. It may have been young Billy Martin. I'm not sure. I have a recollection of talking to him, and we were not close. He may have called me to see what I do. There was a famous, I think unsolved, murder in the Bahamas, Oakes, Oakes, and the newspapers tried very hard to connect Betty's, Renner's death with the Oakes case. That's not true. That's pure speculation, unless you turn up something else. But I'd like you to, I wondered for about a half an hour why I had no recollection of Betty's funeral mass when they brought her body back, which was had to have been at St. Matthew's, which maybe was still just a parish church. It's one heck of a good parish church. It suddenly dawned on me that that day was the day that I graduated from GW Law School. Okay. I must have taken a cab to the then Catholic cemetery, which was called Mount Olivet. E.T. is part of the name. And as I got there, there was still a graveside service going on, and I never got close to it. But I saw a young priest escorting my Aunt Molly, who was not the brightest bulb on the Christmas tree, who had to be led away weeping. And from that day to this, I have not been sure, but I'd like to know how the Washington Star handled the story. And if I get around to write, I've often written a detailed email in my head, but never typed it out. And you're going to see that I report on this. I'll include Brian Erickson. Brian is Rosemary's daughter, and he's totally frustrated.